Now, Martin, welcome to the show. Now, you were very much involved back in the 80s in Moss Side. How did you feel over the weekend when you saw this incident?
I think, like most other people, I was really shocked. Yes, I have been involved since the 80s, 90s and into 2000, working in that area with this kind of incident. And the community itself has made great strides forward. And to get to a position yesterday where we had a one-off incident, hopefully it's a one-off incident, where somebody is prepared to discharge a shotgun into a crowd, really does take us back to those bad old days. And I just hope that, as I said before, this is a one-off incident and there is no retribution.
Martin, just give us a sense of how life is different in Moss Side. I mean, that was my patch. You know, I worked up as a journalist in Manchester for many years. And at a time when things genuinely changed there. And we said in the opening that, you know, Moss Side has tried to shake off its reputation. And in fact, it sort of did.
Yeah.
It's a real shame, I think, for those children at that party, that new generation who perhaps in their own lifetimes will have thought that this was consigned to recent history, and it's back again.
Yeah, I mean, your question was, how's it changed? About 25 years ago, I started acting as a role model in an inner-city school in Hume. And I remember before I went into class on the very first occasion, the head teacher said, you've got to appreciate that these children have got a different outlook on life than you have, which I was shocked about. Most of them will have seen a dead body. Most of them will know somebody who's been, murdered. Most of them will know somebody who's been shot. And quite a lot will have been subject to, armed police raids. And they have a very short-term outlook on life. That was how it was then. Now, in the last 25 years, there's been a lot of work. As I say, I'm chair of governors, or just down as chair of governors at a Moss Side school. And our children now are coached, they're encouraged. We're still regarded as a gooch school where we're located, but they don't have the same level of fear that they had back then. They walk to school in a huge degree of safety, unaffected, and they go about their life with this sort of incident in the background. But sadly, it's now been brought to the fore again. But hopefully, as before, it's a one-off incident.
I mean, if you hear some of the councillors, or you hear some of the councillors in that area speaking over the weekend, and some of the people who work for the local community there, they are very keen to stress that it is a one-off incident. But if you look at something like Chicago at the moment, Chicago's got 70 murders in 1 week alone. I think there was 40 in an hour or something. Now, I'm not comparing Moss Side to Chicago, but the people in Chicago will tell you that there are early signs for this. Many years ago, there were very early signs. Could this be one of those early signs, like you're saying, that we could be seeing a repeat of the 1980s?
It could well be, but I'm glad you mentioned councillors, because I saw a council interview yesterday. Now, my perception on a national level is that your councillors and your politicians are actually a part of the problem and not a part of the solution. They hold all the purse strings, and this sort of problem, because of the scale, can't be dealt with overnight, and it can't be dealt with for free. And unfortunately, when you try and get resources, you face the same challenges time and time again. In terms of the gang culture, it's been there for decades now, and it won't disappear overnight. We've got lots of people doing lots of work to try and tackle that culture. Can it be challenged? Can it go away? I think sociologists are the only people that can give you those answers, sociologists and criminologists. But the people in Moss Side are doing their best to remove that gang culture and get back to a normal way of life where they can do what everybody else wants to do and grow old, grow happy, see the children grow up in safety and be able to go to events and not have shotguns discharged into packed crowds.
And it's important, isn't it, Martin, that this isn't looked at as being a Moss Side problem. This is essentially a Manchester problem. It's a greater Manchester problem. It's a British problem. And I think sometimes we're very quick to say, well, this is just going in Moss Side, and for the rest of us watching right now go, well, it's not our problem. But there needs to be a level of collective responsibility, doesn't there, for something like this? Yeah,
hugely. You're right in what you say. It's not just a local problem, because we've got issues with gangs right across the UK. We know what's taking place in London at the moment. We know what's taking place in Liverpool. We're using the Glasgow model as the basis for reform in the UK to try and learn from from the lessons they had and deal with the problems we face.
What's the Glasgow model,
But
just
it is a
briefly?
national problem, and it needs to be dealt with at a national level as well, with national money coming into these areas.
Yeah, Martin, sorry, what was if you mentioned the Glasgow model, just in a line, what is that for people who don't know?
Right, the Glasgow model was a initiative to deal with the gang culture in Glasgow that met with a high degree of success. And they're using that as a template to roll out, especially in London at the moment, as a way of trying to deal with local problems. What you have to appreciate is that each city's gang, whilst in one sense are the same in that they are a gang and they use violence and they extort money, each gang is different and each gang needs to be tackled in a slightly different way. So whilst you can use a template as a basis, there still needs to be local tweaks and changes to make sure that it's effective.